What do you do, and do you really like it or not?
Well, I work for myself, so if I don't like it, then I am the problem. I struggle with the pressure, particularly as a woman.
Work-life harmony, they mix and match. Which one you
hmm
follow and why?
I think work-life harmony is more realistic. Need to be free.
Live like a CEO.
Hello, I welcome all of you to our brand new episode of our podcast called Live Like a CEO. You already know that in this podcast, we talk to C suite executives to learn about their personal life, their business life, how they either mix and match or keep it separate, how they manage this two world. And today we have a very special guest, Dr. Anna Kallschmidt. She's a good friend of mine. I met her in a writing meetup group in Washington, D.C. But now she's talking to us from Dominican Republic. She's traveling all over the world with her significant other. And I took a couple sentences from your website. Your name is Dr. Anna Kallschmidt, breaking down barriers to workplace success, empowering leaders to navigate the unwritten rules of culture and reduce workplace mismatches for a cohesive, productive team. Well, Anna, welcome to our show. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. So, can you please tell us, for our audiences, what do you do, and do you really like it or not?
Well, I work for myself, so if I don't like it, then I am the problem. So I would say my purpose is to reduce barriers to career mobility and to promote social class mobility. So the American dream is very famous, right? But the reality is quite different. And so I focus on what are those invisible barriers that are that impacts people in the workplace. And my goal is to get as many wonderful people from a variety of backgrounds into leadership as possible. And I do that through sometimes I do workshops at companies to help usually middle management, director level leaders, both in developing themselves and their teams. And I do a lot of one on one coaching as well. And I lead a community on School, the platform School, SKOOL, where we do group coaching. And I call it the anti LinkedIn, where to build a support network for people who are first generation professionals and neurodivergence. And you met me in the writing group because I was writing my book,
That's
which is
awesome.
out now in ebook format and print is coming soon. That breaks down the research that I've done on this over the past decade because I'm an industrial organizational psychologist. So I look at what are the norms that are impacting people, what are these invisible barriers, and how does this impact companies as well.
Awesome. And I'll definitely mention your name, your website, your email address on the screen. But can you please tell for our audience, how do they find your book? Is it Amazon or someplace? What is the name of the book? How do they find you?
Yeah, so the book is The Unwritten Rules of Work, Social Class and Neurodivergent Identities. And it is available on all major ebook platforms right now, so Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Apple Books, etc. The print, so there was holiday backup at the printer. I'm waiting on the green light there. And then you should be able to get that directly from my website, but also the main platforms, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, etc.
Awesome,
So
awesome. Yeah, I highly encourage our audiences to find your book and read the audiobook. All right, Anna,
thank you.
you just said that you're welcome. You just said that you work for yourself. So, you're an entrepreneur. Not a lot of people in this world, they're entrepreneur, only a very few. So what made you an entrepreneur? Like, is there anything in your childhood or from anybody who encouraged you to be entrepreneur? What made you a entrepreneur, and do you encourage others to be entrepreneur?
I encourage others to be an entrepreneur if they have a realistic. I think you have to know the pros and cons. There are pros and cons to staying employed, and there are pros and cons to being an entrepreneur. If you really want stability and you want regularity, I would say stay employed, though I know that arguably you could get laid off at any time, right?
Yes.
But if you want to do something that's really meaningful for you, but it is higher risk, but you really want to enjoy your day to day, then I would say go entrepreneur because that is ultimately why I made the decision was I actually did an exercise a few years ago when I was on a long hike that was from the book Life on Fire by Ken Dinan. And it was an exercise like reflecting on what did you enjoy doing as a child versus what do you enjoy now? And I realized doing that exercise that I was going to have to be an entrepreneur because that's how I enjoyed spending my time.
That's awesome. And a lot of, when I interview entrepreneurs, a lot of them, they say they kind of teach their kids, like their children, like especially high school children, to start their own business, like own LLC. And that can be very simple business, like selling, lemonade in the neighborhood kind of thing. Do you encourage entrepreneurs to teach their kids start business that early? And if you do, like, do you have any special suggestion for them?
So this is part of the unwritten rules that I talk about, is that parents
Wow.
from
Yeah.
different social classes
Hmm.
do train their kids how to handle careers in that class. And part of what makes it very difficult for working class people becoming entrepreneurs is you didn't have that grooming.
Hmm.
You didn't even have the grooming to get really past middle management. Because I've been talking a lot about this on my pages lately. Middle class and high, like upper middle class and higher kids aren't raised to obey. They're
Hmm.
raised to challenge. But then working class people see that and they're like, those some bratty ass kids. Like, right? Like it's bad. Like you obey your parents, right?
Hmm.
So whatever class your parents are is going to leave an imprint on you that affects the rest of your career. And that doesn't mean it has to be faked, right? But that is the group that I work with, is people who are trying to learn new skills to have that. So, I mean, I'm not a parent. I try not to tell people how to parent. I think if your child is interested, I mean, you want to, I mean, I'm taking the American perspective, right? Of like, well, I mean, they're an
Yeah.
individual and see what they're interested
Yeah.
in. But I think even if they don't become entrepreneurs long term, having the skills, the scrappiness, and knowing how to make a sale
Mhm.
is going to help them even if they don't become entrepreneurs, but if they want to like work really high up the corporate ladder, because those are transferable skills.
Yeah, yeah, that's very powerful. And I will learn few more things from your book at the end of the episode. But before that, we have some other questions that I'd like to ask you. So, in your practice, you have a PhD degree in psychology. So, in your practice, you coach a lot of people. You give training to a lot of people. When you provide service, uh, is there any incident where like they actually told you something, like they give a feedback but they actually didn't mean that, they actually mean something else, or they were asking for something but they actually did not mean that, they mean something else? Did that happen to you?
So usually that's what clients come to me for, to help understand.
Hmm.
Because one of the unwritten rules of work is indirect communication.
Yeah.
And for people from working class backgrounds and neurodivergents who I work with, they're usually coming to me because they're like, my manager gave me this feedback. I don't understand it. And how can I interpret that? And how can I be clear? And yet also they're told they're too blunt at work. So usually I have the opposite. I have people coming to me trying to understand what that means. Um, I would say what I struggle with client, I struggle with the pressure, particularly as a woman, to not be too salesy
Hmm.
and to be explicit in what I offer at my price, and to take initiative in making that sale instead of waiting on them to come to me. That is more because there's like a gender dynamic there as well. There's gender and class dynamics there of like why that feels uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Um, but usually the people who come to me are very direct communicators, and that's why they're coming to me.
That's awesome. A lot
Yeah.
of professionals, they have a struggle understanding client feedback, client communication, but you're lucky that most of your clients are very direct in communication.
Well, that's why they're frustrated. So that's part of my brand, because the U.S. is interesting in that it's a low context culture.
Hmm.
We tend to communicate pretty directly, but we're not with feedback.
Ah,
Then we're very indirect. So it is
mm.
confusing even for Americans of like, what are we talking about right now? Like, are we beating around the bush, or is this not a problem? Like, what's the deal?
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm. So, did you ever? So, you just said they're not very direct in feedback. So, how to best understand client feedback?
How do I best understand client feedback? Like, what systems do I have in place to get it?
And do you have any very personal kind of tools or technique that you use to get or understand client feedback?
Well, I'm a psychologist, so I love a good survey.
Yes.
But I got to keep them short.
Hmm.
I do keep a folder in my email because it's just me. I do keep a folder where I call it Sparkles.
Hmm.
And anytime someone sends me like a testimonial or a thank you message, I keep that to like build off of what happened there, what went well. And then I also pre-released a chapter of my book early, and I had an automatic I didn't set it up. My marketing person did because I'm not tech savvy. Set it up to where they could automatically submit feedback on the chapter. And I encourage a lot of leaders that I work with to do that as well, to have the loop available,
Mm-hmm.
and especially anonymously,
Yeah.
so that it's always there. And but scheduling with yourself, okay, every week I'm going to, or every 2 weeks I'm going to review that pile,
Mm-hmm.
because once you're in a position of power, people aren't going to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people get off on that kind of power,
Yeah.
but it also doesn't tend to go well. And I talk about that in my book on then you don't hear about when mistakes happen before there's the big public embarrassment, right? Or worse,
Yeah.
tragedy. So I try, whenever I have a training or work with a place, I'll send a short survey. I also have follow-up conversations. And then whenever I have like a new product that I'm testing, I'll have it built into here's the free offering and let me know what you think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an exchange. Like I'm
Yeah.
giving you like right now I'm working on a training for HR managers on how to actually rate performance for merit and not just unwritten rules. And I'm going to meet with some HR professionals before I deliver it to get their feedback. And then in exchange, they get an early prototype, they get a sneak peek. I'm not, for free. And then I get their feedback, because I do try to keep my relationship symbiotic and not just one way.
Yeah. And have you ever experienced that someone is not very happy with you after the service, receiving from you, and then did you do something to make him or her happy, like cover up kind of things?
I haven't had that as a business owner yet. I'm sure it's coming. I have had it when I was a younger consultant working at another firm. I believe they didn't like that. They felt like our turnaround times were very long, because people
Yeah.
always want things immediately, right?
Yeah.
And so what I did then was I collaborated with them to set up feedback, like timeline expectations for different products. Like, this is the amount of time we can take for each. If you want a flyer, that's not going to take very long. If you want a whole, not placemat, what was it called? Toolkit. That was all the rage several years ago. Having a toolkit for everything, that's going to take this long. And factoring in as well, like, how long do they have to get feedback in before it pauses the process? And so I just tried to do things like that. I've had a few as a business owner, especially in the early setups, like early versions of my website, etc., of like, this link didn't work, or I got the time zone confused, especially when I'm traveling, etc. And in times like that, like I got the time zone wrong, I make sure to offer like a second session, even if it's at a time that, like, I don't normally offer sessions on the weekends, but because I messed up, if that's your best time, I'll do it on the weekend type thing, because I always want to own where I make a mistake.
Yeah. Got it. Well, thank you very much. We'll talk more about your personal life and mixing and matching these two sides. But before that, we're going to take a very short break. Dear audience, please stay with us. We'll be right back within probably 30 seconds.
Live like a CEO.
Starting a podcast or looking to make yours more powerful? Make sure it's heard, not lost in the noise. Managing recording, editing, publishing, and promotion can be overwhelming. That's where Kulna Technologies' 360-degree podcast service comes in. We handle everything from recording to producing to publishing, so your podcast always sounds top tier. You focus on the message, while we repurpose, stream, and promote it across every platform. Want a true 360-degree podcast service without the tech stress? Launch your podcast with Kulna Tech today and let your voice reach the world.
Live like a CEO.
Welcome back to our very important discussion with my good friend, Dr. Anna Kallschmidt. She is a psychologist. She has a PhD degree in psychology, and she is a coach, and she is a trainer, and she is working in breaking down barriers to workplace success. So we were talking about her business side. Now we're going to her personal life. So Anna, is there any personal hobby or kind of sidekick kind of thing, personal thing that helped you in your business success?
So I played bluegrass fiddle all of my preteen and teen years. And I was not known for having good stage presence.
Mm-hmm.
I was good at playing the fiddle for my age, but I was never a smiler. I wanted to focus on the music.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I think one thing that I learned that I didn't realize gave me such an advantage when I
Mm-hmm.
did go to college and such later is I did not have the same fear of public speaking
Mm-hmm.
that was very common. That's like one of the most common fears. I didn't realize. It's like more
Mm-hmm.
people are afraid to speak publicly than I think it's to like jump out of an airplane, which I think is crazy. If you ever see me jump out of an airplane, the plane is coming down. I'm not doing that
Yeah.
voluntarily,
Good, yeah.
but I think just having performed for so many audiences,
Mm-hmm.
even though I wasn't the smiley
Mm-hmm.
performer, I was like, yeah, they're looking at me because I'm giving them something. And
Something,
now
yeah.
I'm just giving them a presentation. I was giving them a song before, and
Mm-hmm.
that has been a huge advantage in my career that I've noticed a lot of people struggle with early
Mm-hmm.
on.
Yeah, so being a performer was a really
Hmm.
good help for you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But
That's
I've
good.
learned that having a hobby at all, because especially, so I worked full time and part time while doing my PhD.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a sacrifice there is that you don't have many hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's terrible for your productivity and new ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So having a hobby at all is so, so, so important. And when I finished my PhD, I found that all I wanted to do was rollerblade. I'm serious. It was like an urge that just
Mm-hmm.
came out of me. It was like 7 year
Yeah.
old me was like, I need to be free. And
Yeah.
just having that time where you're doing nothing but play,
Mm-hmm.
like there's research behind it. It's so, so important. That is where your best ideas come from because
Mm-hmm.
you've allowed your brain to relax.
Mm-hmm.
So the rest can come to the surface.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Now, my next question is, there are two conflicting ideas. Some people, they like to make work-life balance, like they like to keep it
Mhm.
totally separate, and some people they call it work-life harmony. They mix and match. Which one you
Mhm.
follow and why?
I think work-life harmony is more realistic.
Okay.
But I will say that is part of why I'm an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
is because so much of our life is work that for me, I wanted to love what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted it to be meaningful. And I think that that is something that I have from having a religious background,
Mm-hmm.
was that everything should have like a greater purpose than just you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found that I'm best able to do that as an entrepreneur. Now, and many people do it employed,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you are most likely going to spend most of your life working. That's why I'm a work psychologist, because it's a
Yeah.
big part of our lives. So
Mm-hmm.
why wouldn't you want it to be something that drives you? And if you can find that in employment, great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't, but I mean, I'm in the Dominican Republic right now, and I have to schedule time for me to not work, not because I'm afraid, but because I love what I do. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
girl, you still got to go to the beach,
Good. Yeah.
right? Like that's healthy, and your brain needs
Mm-hmm.
that break so you can actually
Mm-hmm.
have good ideas later, you know? So,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's such a happier place to be than what they call the Sunday blues of like, oh, I have work tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, thank you. So my next question is there any instances of like any lesson that you learned from your business side that you applied in your personal life and you got some sort of benefit?
I'm usually asked the opposite. Um, yeah, I mean, I think as a psychologist, it's all connected, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of what I work with my clients on is conflict resolution.
Mm-hmm.
And like people from working class backgrounds, and people from different parts of the world
Mm-hmm.
there are more direct conflict, and then there's more indirect conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm from a family of very direct conflict. Like listen, if one of us is mad at you,
Yeah.
right? But then we hash it out and we're done,
Mm-hmm.
right? While when I went into the work environment and it all felt like that indirect Nobody really tells you they're upset. You just suddenly fall off the meeting invite type thing. That was very strange to me. But I think it also learning how to deal with people who have different conflict styles and learning what is a personal attack versus what is just a cultural difference absolutely enhances, I think, my interpersonal relationship from, and not only romantically, but also with friends of like, is this a slight or is this just we approach conflict differently? And sometimes just asking that question can preserve a friendship. You know, so I think the conflict resolution, the depth that I've learned with what I do professionally absolutely enhances my personal relationships.
Perfect. That's very powerful. Now, the opposite side, like, have you learned anything from your personal life that you applied in your business life and you got success?
Oh, yeah. I mean, nobody gets a PhD and does research in something that doesn't inspire, right? Like where they came from. But I think in particular, my redneck side is why people enjoy my workshops. Because I don't have this pre-framework of being too polished and too professional and boring. And that drove me crazy while I was getting my PhD, is how we are doing such cool research and you're making me write it like it's the most boring thing in the world. And so where I really let that shine was, again, when I would give presentations, even at conferences, and people used to come tell me, they're like, yours is the only one I didn't fall asleep during. And I thought that was so sad because everybody's doing such cool stuff, but it's not taught and it's not encouraged. And so I think that storytelling part that's from my culture, on top of the like already being a performer, being used to being in front of people, absolutely enhanced my career of where I need to learn, like, okay, maybe I shouldn't use profanity in a conference, which is hard for me because I swear like a sailor. I don't have to be boring. I'm not going to do it in this. I don't see things as the one way to do it. Like, I'm like, the audience is actually engaging with me and I want that.
Perfect.
So
that's great.
So giving people something different. Yeah.
Different. Yeah. That's a great thing. So that they're not bored. So that they're not bored. Kind of.
Well, and so again, I don't want to be bored giving it. Let's be honest.
Exactly. Perfect. So we are at the end of the podcast. So please tell us about your book. Like, who is your audience and what, let's say, top 3 things they will learn by reading your book.
So my book, it's a little unusual because my audience is 3 people. I have it for people, leaders, staff, and HR. And that is, so every chapter is on an unwritten rule of work from my past decade of research. And it has recommendations for all 3 groups at the end of every single chapter. I don't do fluffy recommendations. They're very specific and tangible. What you'll learn from this book is what the unwritten rules of work are, how they impact individuals, and how they impact business. It has 70 pages of just citations at the end if you want to try to call my bluff, but it's not written like an academic book. It's written the way I talk, and I use case study examples in every single chapter to show how it applies, because I'm very big on, I'm trained as a scientist, but I am a practitioner. So you'll see real case study examples of how these rules have been used positively and how they've been used negatively and what our role is to do about that.
Perfect. That was so powerful. Thank you very much, Anna, for joining this podcast. I really wish you all the best with your book and your personal life and business life. Thank you. I really appreciated joining here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been lovely.
Thank you.
Live like a CEO.